welcome to the Mommy Mundo podcast. I'm Janice, founder of Mommy Mundo. And for those of you who may not be aware, Mommy Mundo is the most active multi platform resource and community for moms in the Philippines. I founded Mommy Mundo more than 20 years ago with the purpose of providing information and support to newbie moms like me back then. And spent the past 2 decades following my passion and my purpose. So this podcast is actually a dream come true, another way to reach fellow mamas, and another way to share information and stories about parenting, and another way for us to help and inspire and empower each other. I like to say that we at Mommy Mundo are probably any mom's number one fan, cheerleader, and hopefully a motivator. Thus, the title of this podcast, You the Mom. We cheer you on, mamas. Okay, so this podcast is, of course, all about you and for you, mamas. And the whole month, we will focus on the theme origins. And every week, we will have a special episode. The first one is Know It All Mom, where we talk about challenges and tips on pregnancy, baby care, and parenting. And then we have Mompreneur Stories, where we have guests who are successful and dynamic mompreneurs. And we have stories about motherhood, where we have raw and real mom conversations. And lastly, we have the Mom Wellness episode with the Fab Four Mommas, which we are having today. My guests for this week will be people who either started my parenting advocacy work with me or who pioneered interesting stuff for moms, or people who are just there at the beginning and who make Mommy Mundo possible. So today I have very special guests. They are three women who have accompanied me in my mom wellness journey, both personally and also in the Mommy Mundo world. And I'm so excited to have them with me. So our first guest today is my friend and Mommy Mundo's Community Program Director and more, Kit Malvar-Llamas. Hello,
Hello,
Kit!
hello, Janice.
Okay, so
Congratulations.
yes,
It's
thank you for
exciting.
being here. Of course, I cannot not have my Fab Four Mamas in my first week of my podcast. And actually, they will be my mainstays for my whole podcast journey. And this is also our opportunity, Kit, to share what each of us focuses on, or our passion and advocacy. So I'll start with you, Kit. Could you please share with us um, the focus of your work? There's so much that you do, but and you bring so much to Mommy Mundo as community program director. But could you give a background on what you do? I want to say your real life.
my real life, my origin
But I
story.
want your origins. Yeah, you
My
can
origin
share.
story.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I grew up in a big family. I actually have a twin sister. So kung ako si Kit, she's Kat. And so growing up in a big family where I had three brothers and three sisters. And my parents were so active growing up. And this influenced me. I think that strong family bond influenced me and made me curious about what they were also doing. So one of the things I said, if I'm gonna choose a career, I want to have my own time because I like what my mom did. Parang she was always there with us. So I wanted to also be there when my children, when I eventually get married. But I didn't know what that is. I also wanted to teach, but I can't be a teacher because in the school because it requires certain number of hours. I love going around. I love traveling also. So I love the outdoors. So what inspired me one time was my parents was running a nature park, a reforestation project in Antipolo. It's called Mount Puro Nature Reserve. And when my parents were doing the developing the place with the community, I said I wanted to do the program. And it's funny because I was watching Parent Trap, the movie with the twins. They went to summer camp, and I said I want to have a camp also. But here in the Philippines, it like 20 years ago,
Yeah.
it wasn't uso, diba? Parang there was no really
I
summer
think
camp.
even till today, there's no,
Yeah, it's
I
no,
mean, no
Yeah,
camp.
it's
Yeah.
not that ano, 'di ba? Parang I
not
guess
like in the States.
not, yeah, that
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
really like you bring yourself to um a summer camp.
Yeah.
So because of that, I said I after college I was also interested in doing youth development program,
Mm-hmm.
and I took my master's in Cornell University. I took up international development, and then I focused on youth development for environmental sustainability. That's when I decided to make it full time. So I launched Camp Explore 20 years ago, and that's
Yes.
also where I met you,
Yes.
Janice,
Correct.
through the camp. So I was working with kids for for those summer camp, and then eventually we worked with the teachers, with schools, and then with parents. So
Mm-hmm.
I was first the Camp Explorer director, and then while we were doing that, I also realized it's important to involve parents in the formation of the children. Hindi pwedeng it's just the kids. So I also was certified with Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr.
Yes.
Covey. And then after that, I took also a certification in Strengths, Gallup Strengths program.
Yes.
So so I did
That's where we all met in this
yes, that's
Gallup
where we
strength.
all met. Doing the strengths program and
Yeah.
other strengths certification also. So because of that platform, that's where we also started working not only with families, also corporate, because what works well for kids definitely is safe for adults also. And it all starts from our origin, our
Yeah.
childhood, and then I was certified with Dr. Shefali Shabari with conscious
For
parenting
conscious
coaching
parenting.
method. So that's why I call myself the conscious alchemy strengths coach
Yes.
because of
Conscious
this
alchemy strengths
combination.
coach. Because you're
Yeah.
an alchemy of all these
Yes, I
strengths
alchemize
and
all
all.
these principles to be
Yeah.
able to help us really develop ourselves for our
Yes.
children, because and that's really one thing this really you can change. So the change will really come from each one of us. So
That's
whatever
true.
role you are in, it's really
Yeah.
going inner work, doing the inner work.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's only the first of my other three sisters here. So as you can see, we have, oh my gosh, we have so much to talk about. I mean, okay, guys, this is just the intro. So we have seasons and seasons to really pick their brains and hearts and all their sharings and all. So I'm so excited. But thank you, Kit, for being part of You the
Thank
Mom and of course
you.
Mommy Mundo as well. But we'll talk more about your different learnings and your modules in the coming weeks as well. I'm a
Yeah.
believer in each of them. Okay, but I'm
Nice.
happy I met
Thank
you in
you.
Camp Explore 20 years ago.
Yes, right.
Okay, so my second guest today is also, of course, a friend of mine, and if Kit's focus is conscious parenting and conscious living, her focus is self love and owning your story. Okay, so let's hear more about that from my friend Leah Eriguel. Hi, Leah.
Hi.
Welcome.
The
Hello.
lazy bread.
Okay, yes, because I am a Heartworks Healing coach. So, basically, I like to say that I am a story bringer because my passion has really always been about writing, has always been writing, and that passion has led me to guide others to own their story, to rewrite their narratives so that they are the authors of their own lives. And I have a 20 years of marketing experience, and I'm a certified strength strategist, a certified racing frequencies teacher, certified chuchu bells. Really,
Teaching bells.
what I really want to say, minus all the certifications, is that I have all these experiences coming from being a single mom, being a single mom survivor, raising kids on my own, and and it's all come down to really coming from the heart, learning self-love, learning
Yes.
self-care, coming from gratitude and vulnerability, and coming from the heart. And especially during these times, what's most important is that we learn to come home to ourselves, to own our
Yes.
stories, and that's what I'm here for, to guide people to tell their stories.
Yes. So Leah, I know that you actually also incorporate your love and skills on writing
Yeah.
in your modules for self-love and also for owning your
Yes,
story, right?
yes.
So that's
So
a
right,
tool that you use
yes,
among others. So
among
also we
others,
have
yes.
so much to learn from Leah. Oh my god.
Yes. Woohoo.
Yeah, the certificate chuchu bells. Ah, yes. Okay, guys.
Certificate
My
Chichiba.
sisters here are definitely certificate chuchu bell world.
Yeah, so I would like to say thank you to Camp Explore, and I would like to say thank you to the Atma Prema Wellbeing Community
Yes.
for all the Chuchubel certifications.
Yes. And
Chichiba.
also, and you've been a coach there, right? In both communities. So
Yeah.
Yes,
it's
yes.
nice how we actually synergize and work together. And there's so much more that we plan to do in 2021, guys. So watch out.
And I would
Exciting.
also like to say
Yeah.
that I have four fur babies, two adult children, and they are all lucky recipients of my aromatherapy
Yes.
experiments.
That's right.
And soap. Elaborate soap.
And soap, and
Yeah, and you're
organic
so cool.
soaps, and oil blend. Yeah.
Yes. So yay, Leah, thank you for being part of You the Mom and Mommy Mundo
Thank
as well.
you for
And
having
actually you
me.
have to also say that you used to be part of Mommy Mundo. You were
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
She was
Well,
the
I don't.
content head for web
Yeah, I don't
and
want to
still
say that
part
I used
actually.
to, because my heart is still with Mommy
Yes.
Mundo.
Mommy Mundo.
Yes.
Today.
Okay, so last but not the least, of course,
Okay,
we have
Yeah.
my
Woot
third
woot.
Fab Four Mama sister. Okay, now if we are talking about certificate chuchu bells, okay,
She's the
her
queen of
her
Chuchubel.
hashtag
the
actually
queen.
is really certificate. So she is Kate Moynihan Gonzalez. And please do not name all your certificates because we will run out of time.
No,
Okay,
no,
she is
I'll try my
a
best not to.
yeah. Only
Let,
name like 10%,
Yeah,
okay?
just one.
Uh, but
let,
actually, we all learned about our strengths, the Gallup strengths, right? And you guys all have learner strength
Mm.
in your
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
10.
We all do.
I
Yeah.
also
We all
have
do.
learners in my top 10, but so you are maybe the ultimate learner. Well, before we came into this podcast, she was doing her notes, right? So that's the
Yes.
epitome of a learner, I think.
Good student. Good
Okay,
student.
so Kate, I met you
Professional student.
well a long time ago. You were a pioneer in prenatal massage, and I we would just was it email or text? I'm not sure kung may text pa. But anyway, you were doing
Sure.
massage for prenatal women, and then you attended the Mompreneur Summit in Blue Leaf, and then
Yes.
we just stayed connected. Actually, we did not stay connected. We lost touch for a while, and then we got back to being connected through social media with the strengths.
Because I wanted to study strengths with Kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was posting about it, you were like, I
Yes.
need more information. I
I
need more
need to
information.
get in on
I
that.
know.
Okay, tell us about you and all the things that you've been doing and all the things that you've been teaching people and sharing with people.
I thanks. Thank you for having me. I'm
Oh,
so
by the
happy.
way, she was also in showbiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Model,
She was a
showbiz.
tartets. Target.
No, so I'm really lucky because I got into wellness when I was 19. So let's just say nearly 30 years ago. I got to study in Hong Kong, so I'm iTech certified body worker in multiple modalities. I'm also an iTech certified esthetician, so I'm a skincare provider. I trained under, I don't know if you girls know this, I trained under Dermalogica, Fritomere, Pavonia, a lot of beautiful skincare brands.
Oh.
And I studied aromatherapy under Eve Taylor as well. She's one of the greats. Um,
Yeah.
I studied energy work. Oh gosh, maybe 20 years ago. Reiki and
Yeah.
quantum touch. And then I became a yoga teacher. I don't know, about 15, 15, 17 years ago. I went to India and studied under Shivananda. And a few years after that, I wanted to go further and studied under Yoga Works. And then I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more about why certain people got sick, right? It was really the curiosity of, I would see people who would, their skin would go gray, or they'd retain water a certain way, or
Yeah.
certain problems. And then later on, I'd notice that the illnesses would be like generational. It would be passed
Mhm.
down. And so I had this question of, well, why? Surely we should know why. And so I studied nutrition with IIN, Integrative Nutrition in New York. So everything was really body based. And I realized that it's because I was a frustrated dancer. You know,
Ah.
Mhm.
in school I danced. I was actually learning to do, I did ballroom and Latin American dancing at the age of 12 to
Ah,
Wow.
sakto, grabe.
13. And so all those lovely shows that you see with all those lovely costumes, that's what I was aiming
I
for.
can
But I
imagine. I
wasn't
can
allowed to
imagine.
study it. There was actually a university just outside London that had just launched a dance degree. So now it's normal, right? But back then it was the
Yes.
first university, and I wasn't allowed to study it.
Yeah.
Um, so I
Because you will
suppose
be a
that's
starving artist if you do, right? That was the belief back then.
I think I would still end up where I am today. It's just a different,
Yeah.
different path leading to the same direction. So yeah, then with India, and then I started noticing that why can't we get out of our own way sometimes? We want to exercise or we want to move, but we're in our heads and we just can't make ourselves do it. And it really depends on, maybe when you're pregnant, maybe there's postpartum, or whatever the reason is, right? You're always just like, oh, I can't move my body. And this is where I wanted to study strengths. I
Ah,
wanted to know what's going on in our head so that we could move our body. Because usually it's you move
Okay.
your body, your head feels better, right? But how
yes.
come there's
Right.
such a big percentage where you end up being a couch potato? And it's, of course, when you get into your 40s and the hormones kind of shift, you kind of get into trouble. So more of
Yes.
that
Yes.
later. More of that later.
Yeah.
So yeah, so strengths coach. So really, I specialize in somatic, holistic
Yeah.
health and bottom up approach. I'm currently undergoing studies in child development and nervous system. I am
Oh.
trauma informed and gender sensitive.
Yeah.
I am an ambassador of Magical Conversations also. That's with Dr. Pauline Crawford. She's a lovely British lady who's based in America, and we met at a summit here in the Philippines, and we hit it
Mm.
off. So I just wanted to give her a shout out. She created the gender dynamics map, and she created Magical Conversations. And she now has a group called Intelligent Women from all over the world. We meet once a month, and we basically say what we want to be heard.
Yeah.
We want to be
That's
heard,
so
and we
sweet,
would
Yeah.
like to be
Kate.
treated this way. And the men
Yeah.
get to say it too, huh? So I wanted to shout out to some of the people in our industry too that I've been influenced by a lot.
Yes.
So Dr. Pauline Crawford, Donna Tumakdera Esteban,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
girls
I
know her.
used to go.
She's
Yeah.
I
a
used to do
Yes.
wellness
yoga with
coach as well.
Donna. Yeah.
Donna is lovely. And I have done some work with a project study with
Yoga.
Yeah.
You guys have to check the Expo Mom video on Facebook.
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Go,
Daughter
Just
check.
Donna.
talk is there.
right.
Go
And
ahead, Kate.
gangs talk is there too.
Yes,
And
gangs
of
talk.
course, Mommy Mundo and Camp Explore.
Yes. So there.
Yes.
So Kate, my gosh, we have so much. I mean, if you could look into Kate's brain, it's
I know,
like
right?
sometimes you have conversations with her and I'm like, okay, nervous system.
And
Okay.
you know, it's really so wonderful because these are all systems that have been passed down for thousands of years, which is why I love yoga. And it's just that we need to find a different way to communicate this to the youngsters. We need to
Yes.
find out a way to
Right, that's
communicate it to
right.
us,
Yeah.
That's
right?
right.
And so these are, I like to say that I'm a custodian of wellness systems.
Yeah, and
Right.
Kate,
Oh,
you grew up
Yeah.
in that atmosphere. Like your mom brought you to training at
In Hong
age.
Kong,
How
yes.
old were you? You
At
were a teen
Fredericks, I
then.
was 18, 18,
18.
19. Yeah, 18, 19.
Yeah. So you've been living it even before
Ever
we
since.
got
Yeah,
aware,
even
we became
aware.
aware,
my mom
right?
was one of
So
the
we have so much to learn from you as well.
one of the
So
pioneers for
Kate's
spas.
focal point yes, that's right. So your focal point right now is embodied mindfulness, right? So it's all body.
It's all about your
So
body. Your
so
body does not lie.
Body
yes,
is a
that's
wonderland.
right. And then I'm a
Can't but
believer also in functional medicine. Like, right, we know now that traditional medicine actually treats symptoms. So, like, why do we go to a doctor? It's because when we feel a tummy ache or we feel pain somewhere or uncomfortable or we're uncomfortable somewhere. But functional medicine goes to the root cause of these problems.
Mm.
So, let's talk about that more in our
In
next
another-
Next
episode.
episodes.
Okay. So again, I'd like to again share our focal points, right? Or should we say focal points? Or so guys, kasi now lang we're thinking of what really our focus of each person is, so that you can also identify with them when you guys have questions or you guys want something for us to discuss. Okay, so again, Leah is all about self-love and owning your story, and then Kit is about conscious parenting and conscious living. Kate Moynihan Gonzalez is certificate
all
embodied
about you.
mindfulness
Embodied.
with the
Embodied.
dance pa with the, oh,
Yeah,
she's
yeah, with
dancing.
the dance. Yeah.
Okay. And for
Dance.
myself, I like to my battle cry is really passion and purpose. Living with passion as a mompreneur and a mom as well, and living with purpose. Okay. So that's the Fab Four Mamas, right? So that's
Yay!
yeah. I'm so happy to have met the three of you. I met Kit in Camp Explore. Actually, we knew each other before because of your work with Camp Explore, and then eventually I brought my boys to camp,
Yeah.
and then we kept in touch, right? All these weeks. I don't know why you looked me up again when you did strengths.
Thanks.
I'm
Yeah.
happy you did. And
Because
then
we
Leah
wanted
and
to keep it
I,
for families, diba?
yes, yes.
And of course, Mommy Mundo is the
Yeah,
portal for
I'm
that.
happy you thought about me then.
Of
And then
course.
Leah, I met because she
Of
was working
Kathy.
with Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
You're doing consultancy work for Nickelodeon,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
wanted to tie up as well. So our dear friend Kathy Babaw hooked us up, and so we
Oh,
had lunch, and then we found out that we
We were
probably should have met 10 years ago, because you knew my brother-in-law, you knew my sister, you actually knew Gary, my husband, when he was younger.
when he was, yeah, because his
Ganun
sister was
talaga.
from the same
Small talaga.
school. I used to see Gary bringing his, and
Yeah.
the bags with the four wheels.
Yes, the
Yeah.
trolley.
Yeah.
I
So when she
can
said,
imagine Gary.
she
Was
said
he in
she's
briefs?
married to
Was he
Gary,
running around in briefs?
no shorts. So when she said
Short
I'm married to
shorts.
Gary, the Gary in my head was like, making you
Yeah.
guys,
Because you
yeah,
were
Oh,
friends with my brother and sister-in-law who are
and
older than Gary.
Bernie, yeah,
Not that much older though, but I guess
yeah,
when you're young, no, parang the age gaps are huge, even if it's just a few
yeah,
years
yeah.
there. And then eventually, I met Kate, as mentioned, through Mompreneur Summit and her work with the massage. And then one day, I think I was having lunch with Kit,
yeah.
and then I said, but I missed my other two friends. So I said, I think
Yeah.
they're all gonna get along. So I'll probably invite them.
We just didn't
Know
let
each
go of
other
you, did we?
then. Did you guys know each other then, or not, or know of each other, or not at all
Kate
when
and
we
I
came
met
together?
in the strengths workshop.
Workshop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we just hit it. There was like a Viber group the night
That was
before.
it. That was it.
Yeah, and like,
Yeah. So
and then
yeah.
parang no one was really,
Yes.
hi, hi, ganyan.
Hi,
And
only
then,
happy birthday lang in the Viber group.
no, it was it was parang the day before the
Yes.
first, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Ah.
And then
Oh
it was,
yes,
hi, Kate, tapos ganyan. Then
we
I'm
were
like, oh,
already in strengths
Yeah,
when we
yeah,
had
yeah,
been
we were, we
together.
were.
It's just
yeah.
that we didn't have time to really like gel in the personal level. Like we were together
Correct.
in the workshops, and we were obviously people who would we got along, 'di ba? We would drive and connect, and it was a
Laugh.
warm
We'd
community.
laugh.
Yeah, we
Yeah, we just
laughed
laugh.
at our strengths and our we laughed at our differences and our similarities.
Exactly.
But when we got together that afternoon, it was like, oh, nice. And then eventually, we called ourselves Fab Four
Have
and our Fab Four Mamas.
Fab Four
You know,
Mommas.
No, but really,
what I love most about being with you ladies is whenever there's something that comes up for any one of us, I always say what would probably take years of therapy takes us like 2 minutes to sort out because of the love and trust there is
yes.
between
yeah,
us. We're just like, oh, this is how you're feeling. Bam, bam, bam. Oh, that was my issue. Gone.
that's right.
Yeah, it's so
Definitely.
safe to
Yeah,
just,
Yeah.
be, and there's no judgment. Like, and we
yeah,
understand, like, okay, that's
Well,
your,
we might laugh at each other.
yeah.
Yeah, which
That's
is
true.
fine. But I
we
think it's
can,
also because, ano, diba, parang it's nice to know that you're in a group of women who are in the same, like, self-awareness journey.
Yeah,
yes.
So, it can get messy, and we have our ups and we have our downs, and it's just
Yeah.
nice. It's just nice to know that when I'm like really not myself today or whatever, and it's okay. You have
Yeah.
that's right.
like
I
I
maybe
can
we
say I'm Grouch. What did I said? Grover. It's
Grouch.
not
you're
even
grouchy
Grover.
Grover.
I'm Oscar the Grouch today. I'm gonna be Oscar
No,
the Grouch.
okay, wait.
Grover.
You said grouchy
Gro-
Grover,
I actually
but
said
I
Grover.
said Grover is actually not grouchy. That's Oscar. And
That's
then she
See,
one.
now
said,
we would laugh at each other.
And
and
then
then
I
she
was
said,
like,
actually,
wait, I'm
I'm
supposed to be upset when I was laughing.
actually, and then she shifted to, well, I'm no longer grouchy. I'm now Miss Little Piggy in the Muppet Show. Ah, okay, iba ng franchise.
uh, but Muppet pa rin.
Muppet pa rin. Okay, yeah, I mean, I think I want to share maybe something that we learned in strengths that is probably like maybe an anchor in our friendship and something that people also might benefit from, which is the being curious and not judgmental, right?
Mm.
I think that was a learning from the strength seminar about how to look at people and situations with curiosity than judgment.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the world now is really, I mean, if everyone learned that, like, it's also about being compassionate and kind, but just to put in your mind about being curious and not judgmental. So like Kit would always say, when something triggers you, which the world is full of, like we're always trigger everywhere, and then you just think, I wonder why she's acting that way, or I wonder why she said that. I wonder what she's going through, as opposed to thinking, ano ba yan? Yan na naman siya, or whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, it's such a shift, and imagine all the energy that you save.
Yep.
Um, can you share about how you guys, how did that also hit you the way it did me? Like, it really shifted me among all the other things we learned in strengths, right?
Yeah. I think one thing also with the strengths, because we're so, in strengths language, we're so unique that no
Yeah,
one is really like us. So when we get triggered, it's more than looking outwards also, which is part of conscious living also. You also ask yourselves, what is this saying about me?
yeah,
So
correct.
what can I learn about, what is this experience showing me? It's actually because we have a growth mindset, diba? Parang we're just learning, we're really living this life for us to grow. If we have that mindset, then every trigger, every conflict or misunderstanding that we have, it's actually an opportunity for us to understand ourselves. And how am I growing because of this, diba? So, and it's so important, it's all about the wellness. So where do you feel it in your body, and how does it affect you also, where did it start, and then how
Yeah,
is it affecting your relationships, how is it affecting the way you see yourself? So talagang it's so interdependent with each
Yeah.
other, but it really
Oh my God.
starts with
Yeah.
us,
Yeah. So as they say,
ourselves.
it when something triggers you, it's usually about you, not them. Right?
Yes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's the most uncomfortable part, diba? But
Yeah.
it's so easy to just, no, it's really them.
Yeah, it's really them.
It's really them. But
Sometimes it is.
No, but
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Sometimes it is.
but
True.
also it's very it's difficult, but it's also very freeing
yes,
because
Very.
it's
really
very it's freeing, diba?
liberating.
Yes.
Liberating. Kasi
Empower.
before we would say, okay, it's always somebody else's fault. It's never our fault. Syempre kasi tayo yung bida sa kwento,
Yeah.
'di ba?
Or
So,
the other
yes,
way around. For me, Leah, I felt like most of the time it was, what did I do wrong? Kasalanan ko na naman.
right.
Mine was always
Yeah.
inwards, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
But
So
but
the
when you
shift is now
realize,
we're co-creating it.
yeah,
yeah,
It's not
yeah,
really just one or just you or me because we're one and we're so
yeah,
unique also. We're really co-creating it. We're part of the cause and effect. So
yeah,
of all the things. It takes humility to say, okay, I know I co-created this somehow.
Mm.
And there's also, of course, the other person,
Yeah.
which you look at more from a curiosity point of view. What
Yeah.
is,
it's
how
so
can
it's
I
so
be?
interesting, no? Because I think it really depends on that human being and how they grew up, of course, right? Their confident vulnerabilities, right?
Yeah.
And how, the stories, right, Leah, that
the
they say
stories
in
that
their
they
heads,
tell
right?
themselves, yeah.
And when you grow up, say in a bigger family where it tends to be mostly your fault, you
Mm,
adapt that, and so
yeah.
it's easier to own it and say it's my fault. And
Mm,
so that whole process of unlearning that, the school of unlearning, of sharing that responsibility, not necessarily asking for them to apologize or even them to acknowledge, but giving that up, giving that burden up and say, right, I
That's
had my fault, but not all of it was my fault. To
Right.
give up that control,
yeah.
right? How difficult
Yeah.
also.
Okay, I want to put it in perspective. Like not because of course we all started with um like tapes or programming that we grew up with. Like
mm,
we all have this mindset in our heads of how things are or how we are and how relationships should be and all that, especially in our conservative Filipino traditional family setting, right?
mm.
So I want to put out a situation and then let's go through each of you, like your focus points, so that we can illustrate to our listeners how you can shift up yourself, okay, from with just one story. Okay, for example, Knox challenge.
No, I love it.
Wow.
Next game.
Challenge.
Case
Okay.
study.
Impromptu to impromptu, guys.
Love it.
Okay. For example, if you're a child, if you grew up in a family which biglang may hugot ako pala to.
A
Okay, I grew
family
up
of
in a family. There's this girl.
What's her name? What's her name?
Her name's
starts with
Jane.
a J.
No, anyway. Anyway, I'll just be vulnerable. You know, I grew up in a family of seven, and I was always parang the submissive one. So I was always the one, bata ka, di ba? Ikaw yung mas bata, you give in and I was the organizer. I'm an events organizer. I organize people. And that was a natural thing for me. So it wasn't anything, there's nothing wrong with it. But I was in the family, I was the organizer and parang I was always expected to fix and help people. Diba? Help people. Okay. So now growing up, which is why probably I set up Mommy Mundo and all. And I'm owning my story that that's who I am. That I love helping people and love bringing people together. But going through the wellness journey, I've been looking into my narrative. So Leah, I want to push it to
Mm,
Leah. I
go.
love this. So how is it? Um, I mean, if it's is it if I owned my story about being the organizer and being the giver like that, and then now I could be triggered by people who take advantage of of that strength or take advantage of that giving, or sometimes people don't see it the way, like if I'm seen as being too much, you
Mm.
know, I'm seen as being too much, like, oh my god, there she is again trying to be the bida or whatever, but inside of me I'm not, like, and I'm just saying all these possible situations when you're in my situation, or if you were find yourself in my role, in quotes, in the family. um what I want to go deeper into the owning your story process. Like, I'm sure you've coached people who are in this same situation, if it's not similar to that.
Okay. Um, First of all, the interesting thing about stories is, the story of Rashomon, diba? There's the story of this person. There's the story, which is from your point of view.
Yeah.
There's the story from somebody else's point, and
Yes.
and then there's the truth, right?
Oh, I love it.
So that's Rashomon. That's the story of Rashomon. So what am I saying? I'm saying that you saying, okay, what's the story in my head? The story in my head is that ako yung mabait in the family, marami kami,
Yeah.
um, but I'm the one who puts things together. But I've always been
Right.
mabait. Those are
Yes.
your stories about you, right?
Yes. That's right.
However, it's very possible that the other people in your family have
Yes.
their own stories of you too, because it's based
That's
on their
right.
stories of
Correct.
themselves,
Yes.
right? So the thing is, whatever story you have in your head about growing up like that, and your triggers, is it making you happy? Is it working for you? Because if not, then you can rewrite your own story.
Yes.
Komportable ka ba na ikaw forever yung nag-aayos? Komportable ka ba na ikaw yung laging mabait? Because
Yes.
you'd certainly have the power to say, guys, if this is my story before, if I'm the one who fixes everything, I'm retiring right now. You
Yeah, and there's
can,
nothing wrong with
and,
it,
and, and
right?
there's nothing wrong with it. And then who knows? Maybe someone will say, "But we never. Hindi
Exactly.
ka naman namin inatasan.
Yeah.
Nagmagandang loob ka. O edi okay,
Right?
'di
So
ba?"
guys, imagine the shift. Like, exactly. I love it, Leah. So imagine the magic of letting go of that story, not being hinged on that, because I mean, there's so much to learn about owning your story, but
Yeah.
that's just like a
Yeah.
teaser. And
Yeah.
if I was hinged on barang my story of being that, and I don't and I'm not flexible, or I don't go with the flow, or
Yeah, it
I'm
will
not
stay there.
conscious.
Yeah, it will
Yes,
stay there.
I'd be thinking, ayun na naman. I'd be going into myself and going into that codependency mode and all.
And that will be
And,
your pattern kasi, 'di
and that
ba?
will be your pattern all your
Yeah,
life.
we're
And what
made
life is that,
we're
right?
made of patterns. And so
Yes.
when we break the pattern, then
Okay, now we go to Kit. Let's talk about what are the steps in your mind. How do you think consciously, or how do you process it, so that you can shift yourself out of that being stuck in that story, and evolving and pivoting, our favorite word, pivoting, right?
pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah. First, it has to be an awareness that we are really just one. Parang yes, we live in this body, this form, but we're really just all energy. So that's
Yeah.
the first and foremost. So our siblings, our family, they
Yeah.
are really reflecting what you still need to grow into your most authentic self. So when we are young and we have these experiences, we have that inner child. Actually, in conscious parenting, who you're really parenting is your inner child.
Yes.
And the more you have a healthier relationship with your inner child, the better you're going to have a better relationships with everyone else, because that's external to you. And we're really just reflection, mirroring each other. So during the time when you were growing up, what happened was, for you to be able to be seen and to be heard,
Yes.
you had to conform to this good girl image.
Yes.
So, and you weren't allowed to really, speak up, because you're young, and
Yeah.
you know, maybe you're a girl, they're boys, so they're more, they have
My
they're
parents would always
older.
say, "Mas bata ka." I'm the sixth of seven. So always
Yeah,
mas bata ka, ganyan.
yeah, mas bata ka. So there's hierarchy.
Yeah.
So now you had to fit in, because primarily
Yeah.
we want to be seen and heard by our parents. So we formed
Yeah.
that persona, and that protected us, our inner child. It made us survive, and that's the ego now forming. The ego
Yes.
protected us from the inner child to be
Yeah.
hurt. So when you're now that you're growing up, so you learn to survive, to be seen and to be heard by being that organized. So
Yes.
when then we're so judgmental with yourself, because there are days that you just don't wanna do anything. You just wanna
Yeah.
be. But parang we've equated our value with the way we produce things, our
Yes.
outcomes, with the
Yes.
results. So one is that awareness that, yes, you just acknowledge that, okay, you now have to heal that inner child, and tell your inner child it's okay, and your ego,
Yeah.
it's okay now to let go, because I'm an adult now, and I'm
Yeah.
going to take care of you. So you're going to
Yeah.
integrate now your inner child and your adult self, so you
Yeah.
live in integrity and authentically with your who you really are. Because most of the time when we're too big, parang our ego is telling us, oh,
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
So we've
Yes.
learned to just hush down and make ourselves really little. So that's what they're saying, diba? We're not really afraid of our weaknesses, but we're afraid of our light,
Yes.
to really show who we really are, because people might think we're too much, or
Yeah.
you're you're and it's also coming from us, because it's our scripting, and that's your ego protecting. You
Yeah.
don't be too much, because
Yes.
people will get triggered.
Yeah.
So when we get to heal that and just acknowledge it first, don't judge it. It's just part of your,
Yes.
like, diba, history. And then as soon as we acknowledge it, then we're really going to say, that's where the empowering starts. Like, wow, I have all these strengths that I can use now in my
Yes. Right.
adult self, and I can create my own story and recreate my own stories,
Yeah.
where I wanna, who I
I love
wanna,
it, kid.
like, be. And it's always evolving. We're not going to
Yeah.
be,
Yes.
diba, parang you're not, because time is boundless.
Yeah. I
You're,
think when you start your self-awareness journey, um everything that comes in, you'll be able to look at with new eyes. So
yes,
it's
yes,
like it'll never, like, it's something that you'll take with you all your life, right?
yes. And
So coming from this one, like you were saying about the inner child and all. So for example, if you see yourself as the good girl, and then people eventually, for example, there's a trigger that
yeah,
people are saying, for example, you're too much, or why do you have to do that, or whatever. The inner child, you can actually nurture your inner child by saying that your value, right, is not connected to what you're giving, or what you're, the role you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Your
yes,
value is inherent. So
yes.
that's
We
where
are
self-love comes in.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
That we're really formless. There's really
Yeah.
no. So when you're doing
Yeah.
conscious, that's why a lot of breath work is necessary.
Yes.
Because, and like owning the feelings, just recognizing, acknowledging how you're feeling, because now it's stuck to you. I mean, if pretend your hand
Yeah.
is your
Yeah.
feelings. Sorry, we're on radio. We're just listening. So pretend your hand is your feelings. When we are not yet healed, we take it personally, like the
Yes.
palm of our hands are stuck in our face. When we
Yes.
start healing, we're starting to put, we do not personalize all these triggers outside.
Yes. That's
And it's
right.
actually a stimulus for us. So we breathe the space between the palm of our hands to our face. When you breathe,
Yeah.
when you do our breath work, when you meditate, we create that space between our feelings and those hurt patterns to our true self. So we can
Yeah.
see clearly now. I can see you now. So I can
Yeah.
see you in me, and you can see me in you.
Yes.
So that's the only way really to separate yourself and heal yourself.
Yeah.
you really need to create space and not take things personally, because you always remember we're formless. Uh,
Yeah.
of course, we're
Yeah.
formed,
So
but
for example, you organize a family reunion and it's not appreciated.
yeah, yeah,
Normally, you'll be like crazy. Like you'll be so
yes,
hurt and you'll, oh my God, you'll carry that with you for weeks and all. But if there
yes,
is space within
yes,
you and the feelings, and you don't attach what's happening to your role as an organizer and stuff, and you think about it with curiosity and not judgment, like you say, I
mhm,
wonder how
What's
come,
happening to
what's
them?
happening
Maybe
to them.
maybe
yeah,
they have their own
Yeah,
Are they
maybe
concerns,
all
right?
right?
maybe they
Are they
had
all
plans
right?
that I didn't
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
or maybe
yeah,
without also victimizing yourself na parang, I wish
yeah.
I should have known, I should have
Right.
known,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
which is
No
another
more
whole entire
shoulds.
thing.
Yeah,
Then
I
you
it's
can
knew, I
shift.
knew.
yeah. You
Exactly.
just you do your best, and then you can let go of the
Yes.
results.
That
Diba?
is
Whatever the result is, it is what it is. Then
it is what it
you know
is. I was
it
gonna
is
say
what
our
it is.
favorite.
It is what it
I
is.
mean,
It is
we
what
gotta
it
Well,
try.
is,
and
guys.
no, and not to say that you won't feel the bad feelings anymore. Because I think
Yes.
one of the things
Yeah.
about this whole self, awareness journey is realizing that, I don't know, maybe being Filipino, being women, or
Yeah.
being Asian, I don't know, but
Yeah.
we were conditioned na you only acknowledge the good stuff.
Yeah. You
You
That's
only
right.
acknowledge the happy, the beautiful, the ganyan. If there's messy stuff, if there's difficult stuff, we don't talk about that.
Yes.
Oh,
And
that's
and
the
it's a
stuff I love.
it's a given. It's a
Yeah.
given that if we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right? So we grow up like that. Like we don't
Yes.
confront.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
We don't
hard
confront.
And
Because
because
that's where
sayang,
all the illnesses
all
come
the
from.
learning, right?
yeah,
Okay,
that's
now
hard.
Where
so we
illness
bring
comes
it to
from.
Kate, who
Yeah.
loves
The
talking about
body.
nervous system and well, like Kate mentioned, breath work. So Kate, share with our listeners what you've taught us about how our nervous system reacts to triggers, and
Oof.
where the parts of our body that carry emotions in like a few seconds, a few
Yeah,
minutes.
I think that's too much
I don't
Challenging.
to
know.
cover.
Just share
That's
what
too
you
much to
can.
cover. And how about we put it this way? Growing up, we all, I think childhood is a time for a lot of great memories, but it's also the time where we collect our biggest pain.
Yes.
And this one's a big one, okay? Our first bullies are our parents,
Mm-hmm.
right? And our
Oh.
siblings. I mean, the pain that we collect from that, and our body holds all of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really this simple. The reason why I chose somatic is the medicine for release is still breath work and movement. So whatever is going on, however much we understand, as much talk therapy as we can get, and majority of us don't want to move or don't understand why we have to move. We have the need from top to bottom approach. We have to understand why, right? Bakit ganon? Bakit ganon? Right? Which is why we learn strengths, which is why we have conscious living. But once we get it, okay, we got it. How do we move forward? And
Yeah.
how we move forward is through your breath and
Mm-hmm.
through movement.
Mm-hmm.
It is
Right.
really the only way to um, release it from your body. So if you look at animals in the wild with nervous system, right? So I'm going to try to keep it simple and short here. But basically, if you got animals in the wild and the predator comes and catches a prey, the prey can for a second just pretend it's already dead. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it slows its system down. And if suddenly that predator gets distracted, that prey suddenly like gets up and runs away. And
Yes.
once it runs away, it actually goes through this shaking. There
Mm-hmm.
is a physical release. And then animals don't think about, oh my God, you guys, I almost got caught by the tiger over there. They don't say things like that, right? For
In
us, it's
Lion King, they did. Just kidding.
Humanized.
Just kidding.
Right? But in the animal kingdom, they just don't hold in trauma. They shake. There's a natural
They
process
shake it
of
off.
you're
Right.
sympathetic and you're parasympathetic, and it's just very much in the wild. Whereas us
Yeah.
humans depends on let me tell you a quick story, okay? During the 9/11,
Yeah.
um there was a preschool in that vicinity, and the children were watching these people jumping off the floors, yeah, and there were social workers checking up on the children, and there was a noticeable difference between children who grew up in stable environments where they had a voice and they felt loved, and
Mm-hmm.
when they were doing some drawing, some art therapy. um, so you've got the burning buildings and people jumping off, and there was this big
Yeah.
circle on the floor, and the social worker was like, "What's that?" And goes, "Oh, next time we should put a trampoline so we could save them." They were progressive already,
Yeah.
whereas children who came from not so stable families, whatever they saw that day, they still held in their system. They're still
Mm.
living that hell.
Mm.
So
Yes.
it's all about your nervous system. And so if you think about all of the people who have PTSD,
Yeah.
there is a
Trauma.
way to release it.
Yeah.
You don't have to live with it. There is a way to release it.
Yeah.
And majority of the way is through breath and movement.
Yeah.
So
Breath
I
and
hope that helped.
Kate, what
Yes.
is it
Wow.
about breath work that heals and lets like makes the flow of energy better? Like,
So, I think the best way to explain breath is pranayama. Prana means life force energy. Yeah. So it is how to control your life force, how to control your life. So
Mm.
if you're sleepy, you've had a long day and you've got something else to do, there is breath work that you can do to
yeah.
get your system to wake up and stretch out a little longer. If
Okay.
you are
So
so
that
excited,
was that long inhales and shorter
so
exhales?
the longer the exhalation, just as a rule of thumb, yeah,
Yes, yes.
the longer the exhalation, the calmer you get. The stronger the inhalation, the more you can wake up. So
Okay. So
just keep
energy is
those two.
long, stronger inhale.
Yeah,
Okay.
strong. And if you can do like multiple, so before a podcast, and if you're feeling really sleepy, goes,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So that's why giving birth is expelling, like exhaling fast.
and so you've got your lamas there, where there is
Yeah.
control of pain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There
I
is
am
control
proof
of
that
pain.
breath works because I gave birth to a
Yeah.
10-pound baby boy because of that breathing.
God.
I
You know,
know, Gavin.
Without anesthesia. Oh my
wala.
God.
Wow.
I had a Filipina nurse, and she said,
Yeah.
"Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Every time the pain goes up, I have this injection of Valium. You say
Okay.
go." She said, "If not, then you let the pain go." So she was with me the whole time. So, diba,
Wow.
tataas the pain. And I
Yeah.
said, "Just give it to me already, give it to me." She said, "Talaga? Sayang naman." She took me through that. And then,
Oh my
Great
God.
nurse.
Did you kill her
Wow.
yeah,
after?
parang may sumalo na lang yung pain.
So how
Mga
would you
10
breathe? How
pounds.
would you breathe the time when the pain was really high?
It's ano,
Yeah.
ganyan. And then,
You have to
my
meet the pain.
the
Keep the
dad
pain.
of my son, kasama mo siya, diba? When you do lamaz, you do it.
Yes.
And he ate like a cup of noodles, right? And so when you're in extreme pain pala, your senses are so sensitive.
Oh.
So he was going, breathe, breathe. And I was smelling the, the noodle smell. And talagang, I made, talagang nagmura ako. I think 3 rooms apart held, let's get away from me, you stink!
Get the essential oil sprays.
Go! Tapos na-hurt siya.
Oo nga. So when you smell the noodles now, you're like, oh, memories.
Yeah, it's like giving birth to a 10-pound baby boy.
So fun.
But the point is, imagine that's how strong the breath is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That you can give
Correct.
birth with nothing. Imagine that.
That's right.
But it's such a wonderful thing to learn, because you could just make something that's pleasurable even more pleasurable with breath.
Ooh. This is going to be another
Just kidding.
conversation
Kate
altogether.
with her
Another
good
episode.
Kate with her
I
good
just
work.
needed to.
Yes,
I
another
needed to slide
episode.
that one in
So
there for
so
moms.
guys, just this last few minutes of analyzing this one situation, this story that you have, and then going all the way through my Fab Four Mama sisters. That's just a sneak peek of what our episodes are gonna be like. And let's see what we can unearth, right? The lessons that we can unearth with each
Together, right?
episode. So guys, I mean, working with moms, I mean, the work that you've done with us at Mommy Mundo, we know that right now, with the current situation in the world and the pace of life and digital, technology and all that, what do you think is the role of wellness today? And I mean, what is it in wellness that moms and dads need the most, you think? Kate, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I actually sat with that for a bit, and it just comes back to this: you cannot fill from an empty vessel.
Yeah.
So how about we change that narrative and question everything? The school of unlearning, right? Open up and learn,
Yeah.
and bring up a generation that doesn't need to heal, that can thrive. I think
Right.
that's really the role that we as parents, our generation of parents. Enough of that. Just enough. You're filling it up just enough. Go, be bold, fill yourself up, be
Yeah.
bold, so that you can be so generous to your children. The answer to them should always be yes, darling, why not? For as long as it doesn't harm you or turn you into a bad person.
That's right. If it doesn't kill
Yes,
you, go. Right?
right.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yes,
conscious
and
parenting. So conscious living, Kit. I'm
yes.
connected to what Kate said. What do you think is it about that
Well,
moms need the most right now and dads?
I think yeah, it's really going inside, doing your own inner work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you have whatever's the best in you, that's what you shower to others. So well, whatever's inside you, if that remember there's like a story of a man holding a coffee cup,
Mm.
and then someone bumped him, and then the question was, why did he spill the coffee? It's just like that. Why did he spill the coffee? If your answer is because someone bumped me, that's the
Yeah.
wrong answer. He spilled the coffee because there was coffee in his cup. If it was tea, he would spill tea. If it was
Yeah.
water, he would spill water.
Philosophical, I love it.
Diba? Parang at the first, parang philosophy, but if you really think
I
about it,
love
that's
it.
what's happening to us
Yeah.
now. There will always be a crisis external to us.
Yeah.
So we really need to go inwards, clean your internal system. And that's mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's really where it's all interconnected. But it will really start from us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that inner
I
work,
love that,
I
Kit.
think that's the first thing, that just to clean our own landscape. When we clean that, whatever will vomit out, it can be it's either a cup of it will smell like a cup of noodles, or
Noodles.
it could be like a baby, a cry of a baby, of a birth, of a joyous occasion. So
Yeah.
it really
I think
starts
that's
from
also probably something that will help the mental health, like what people are going through now with anxiety and depression, like
that.
because we get strong inside,
Yes, and
right?
to
When we're
normalize it, like what Leah said,
That's true.
normalize
That's true.
anxiety. It's not.
Yeah.
Before we think, diba, parang there's really something wrong with you if you
Yes.
go to a
Yes.
coach, or if you go to therapy. But it's
It
so
should it should be
normal.
like it should be like
Yeah.
having a cold, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
just like a
True.
physical. If you go to a doctor, there's
Mm.
also some inner work you need to do.
Yeah.
It's just in your mind. So it's you
Yeah.
need you
I
need
was talking with my kids about it and Marty yesterday, and I was reminiscing back to a time where when a woman was trying to explain her needs, and people would just say, "Ah, sira ulo niyan." Remember
yeah.
that term?
Yes.
Remember
Yes.
that term? Ay,
Diba?
sira ulo
Diba,
niyan.
Yeah.
And today it's we are wild women, right? The too much woman,
Yes,
right?
we're letting
And
out a
finally
lot.
we are embraced and
unleash cheetah.
appreciated.
Yeah.
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 How about you, Leah? What do you think do moms need right now?
Uh, in these
Moms and
challenging
dads.
times, yeah, I would say that we really need to, yes, go inside ourselves, but also learn self-love, learn
Yeah.
self-compassion. Um, even if it's, and it can be a quick tip as just holding your hand to your heart when
Yeah.
things feel
Mm.
tough, and having, your deep breaths. It's really about letting go of your shoulds. It's
Yeah.
really about being able to talk to yourself like you would to a child, especially when you're feeling all messy.
Yeah. I love it.
Because as mothers, listen to the way we talk to our children. That's not the way we talk to ourselves. But imagine the change if we
Yes.
talk to ourselves the way that we talk to our children.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm.
Sweet,
Yeah.
sweet.
Remember before when we talk about self-care, we would used to do a mindful mom retreat,
Mm,
I think three,
yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
And when we talked about self-care, it was just going to the spa or
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
or
No.
putting
Yeah.
So
lotion,
much
Me
But
different now.
now,
time. Diba?
yeah.
Yeah.
But now self-care and self-love is again like how do you talk to yourself? Like it's so
Yeah.
and
easy to
and
torture
and
yourself.
Janice,
Yeah.
especially for us women, kasi
Yeah.
because of our beliefs, we were brought up na we come last,
Yes, have it
right?
all, right? Women
Yeah,
can
yeah,
have it
we
all. And then
no, 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 'di ba, the belief is
yeah,
dapat mauna our
take care
children,
of
dapat
everyone.
mauna,
Yeah.
yeah, and we
And
come
ganun pa
last,
rin
and
tayo hanggang ngayon,
Yeah.
'di ba? Ang
Yeah.
hirap to not put ourselves first. As
oh,
someone who is in wellness
Yes.
and with everything that I study, I still have very very difficult time putting myself first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, you
That's
feel
the
guilty, yeah, diba?
unconditioning, diba?
Yeah,
The
great
Mm-hmm.
unconditioning.
unlearning as well.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
about guilt,
Because
Leah. I
I
don't know
think,
about guilt. I think
yeah,
it's
there's
really more
still,
si Kate yung sinasabi niyang yung unconditioning na parang sobrang out of habit ba na inuuna natin silang lahat.
And also the
Nakalimutan
expectations of
natin.
people kasi, 'di ba? Like
yeah,
'di ba you're being like people will say, ano ba yan, yung anak niya, mababa yung grades or something. Eh, tingnan mo naman. There's so many. And 'di
that's,
ba, like,
because we think our
I
children
love,
is a reflection
We're back.
of
yeah,
our own,
yeah,
diba? Of ourselves. But our children they live in a different path. They're not even,
yeah,
Yeah.
they just
yes,
came through us. And that's part of the
that's right.
conscious parenting. They just came through us,
They
but
came to us.
they're not our mini
they're
me's.
not
That's
us,
right.
They're
That's
not
right.
us.
They're
yeah,
not
They'll
us.
have their
Yeah.
own adventure. So
Yeah.
you just, and they're just really reflecting to us what we still need to change in
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Can
it's
can
good.
I go back a little bit to, what do
Sure.
mom and dads really need? Um I'd like to say at this, to tie it all in, is like
Yeah.
the learning, the breathing, the moving,
Yeah.
and to remember to play. This is what I've
Yeah.
rediscovered with my children. We are now playing a lot more, and to be brave to make mistakes in
Yeah.
front of them, to
yeah,
learn something new, and show them that it's okay to make mistakes and then laugh at yourself.
Yes,
That's
right.
So
Think
right.
more
through this,
talaga, guys.
yeah, through this
That's why
year
we had a theme, make time for silly and make time for
Yeah.
wonder.
I
yeah, that's
Those
wonderful,
are the things that make great memories, right? And they
yeah,
take that with them.
but it
Yeah.
was challenging, no, in the beginning. So
Yeah.
remember, last time we saw each other, I saw each other on Zoom.
Yeah.
I told you that I got a bike for my anniversary, and wow,
Yes.
that wonderful play of
Yeah.
being able to ride a bike with my kids. And
Yes.
I was 6 years old when I learned to ride a bike. Of course, stories that I tell myself, Leah, right?
Yes.
Of,
Yes.
ay, hindi ako binilhan ng bisikleta. Never ako binilhan ng bisikleta. I've never had one. I used to borrow one from our neighbors for 15 minutes before the sun would set. And I
Oh.
taught myself how to bike. I could
Sweet.
have bought myself a bike throughout how many decades, but I never did.
right, right.
I
Ah,
like that story of,
Yeah.
oh, they didn't love me, they
I
didn't
like
buy
that
me a bike.
story.
But
Yeah.
diba,
We get
those are the
stuck.
stories we bring, yeah,
Yes. Yes.
Right?
And I think,
Yeah.
in terms of guilt also, because time is really limitless. We're given 24/7. Yes, we can still, our children, of course, they need us. We're the caregivers. but it doesn't mean it's 24/7. Diba? Parang sometimes we just take it collectively. You're not a 20, you don't have to be a 24/7 mom. So
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
also take it into, consideration also that there
that's
are,
right.
Oh, I wanna add to that.
yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanna add to that because earlier I was talking about guilt, but then I don't know, the connection went
Yeah.
bad. Um, Adding to what Kit was saying that you're not a 24/7 mom. You know, I used to get guilty if I would dislike something about my children. Like
Mm,
I'm not supposed to dislike something about my children. Like I'm always supposed to love ganyan. And I was really bringing that. Oh my God, I'm such a bad mom because like I'm hating them right now. And then I had a friend say, Leah, they're not naman perfect, right? Di ba you're saying they're never.
yeah,
Oh nga, no. So it's okay. Like I used to get really
that's
guilty.
true.
Oh, I don't like them right now. But now
Mm.
now I'm like, yeah. I mean, there are days when I
Yeah,
don't like, doesn't mean I don't love them, right?
that's right.
yes,
That's
It's
Yeah,
right.
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
we
so
So
say
thanks
that.
for sharing the all the things that we think moms and dads need. I mean, I'm sure we'll have more discoveries of what moms and dads need as the months go by and as we evolve in this in hindi pala new normal, no, in the normal in today. For me, besides what you've all mentioned, I think one thing that I think we all need as well, and moms and dads as well, is to know that everyone has a need to be seen. Like,
mm,
I mean, it's really the basic need of everyone to be seen and understood. So again, if we just look at each other with compassion and kindness, like our spouses, our children, our family, our friends, and then yeah, and myself and ourselves as well,
yeah,
then we can live more consciously, and
mm.
then we can just say, it is what it is, and grow from there, right? And
Yes,
just
it is what it
flow
is.
and flow with life, right?
Yeah,
Flow with life. So, okay, so
with play
yes.
and fun and humor and laughter.
Yes, right. Just have fun with life. I mean, and I think now I think that another thing that I also learned in this pandemic and also with in this journey that we're all in is to not take things too seriously. Because like when
Yeah.
we go into our inner child work, our inner child
Yeah,
journey and the stories and all the triggers and all, parang it becomes so heavy and you kind of dwell
yeah,
on the issues that we need to solve within ourselves to be better, but maybe focus on the wins instead, like the win every time, and
Yeah.
how
yeah,
we, and
Right.
that's why also gratitude, like Leah also advocates
Yes.
gratitude.
yep.
It's
Yeah.
also
It,
I like to think that, with everything that's been happening to us this
yeah,
2020, it's really made us step back and like see life. How can we live it like it's heaven on earth?
yeah,
yeah,
Because
yeah,
what are we waiting for? What are we shooting on ourselves for? What are we working so hard on perfection for? Tomorrow we could all be gone.
yeah,
Imagine all the time wasted. We might
right.
as well live it like it's heaven on earth right
Yeah, I
now.
love that,
yeah.
Leah.
It,
I love
I love
that.
it,
and it
Leah.
goes back to the breath, diba? It's like
Yeah.
one breath at a time, one moment at a time.
Yeah.
Well, so in yoga, we believe that you are given a certain amount of breaths in the lifetime.
Mm,
Oh,
So make that breath count.
make that
Yeah,
breath
make the
count.
breath count.
I
And
love
so
it.
Quality of your
uh,
breath.
for everyone who's listening, the tip that I can give you is don't breathe through your mouth. It
Mm,
shortens your lifespan. Breathe
mm.
through your nose. Mouth is made for speaking and eating. Nose is made for breathing.
And
Okay,
kissing.
wow.
Mouth is made for kissing too.
Yeah, we were waiting for Kate to say that, no?
I know. I
She
was
did
like,
it. So
mouth is made for eating and
Eating and drinking and
and talking and
talking and nose.
Don't talk,
kissing.
just kiss.
Okay. So with I was about to ask you guys for a tip, but each of you gave a last tip, a last wisdom so naturally. I love it. So thank you. We can wrap up now, and I think just this episode just shows the rich topics and lessons that can discuss. I'm so excited. But thank you for being with me here on You the Mom. And I look forward to being with you, Fab Four Mamas, in
Thank
the
you,
coming months.
Thank
Janice.
Thank
you.
you, Janice, and
Thank
You're the
you.
congratulations.
mom.
Yee.
So thank you for joining us at You the Mom. Thank you to all of you who listened to us today. And just remember that mom life is something to be celebrated and cherished. And that's why we believe that moms are to be celebrated and cherished as well. So from us to you, you
You
the
the
You the
mom.
mom.
mom.